Well, hi guys. I was just thinking about the whole Elon Musk, Donald Trump bust up, or the end of the bromance, and I was made me think of what we've just gone through, which is Jupiter in Gemini, and also that long period that began in September last year, where Mars was first in Cancer, briefly in Leo, retrograde in Leo over Christmas, and then back retrograde in Cancer for the first few months of the year, now in Leo, and next week or whatever, it goes into Virgo at last. So we've had this extended period with Mars in Cancer and Leo and Jupiter in Gemini. And I feel that just to set the backdrop for the Elon Musk, Donald Trump thing, we should look at that. What is Jupiter in Gemini? Well, there are loads of positive things we can say, but Gemini is the sign of the salesman. And Jupiter is exaggeration. So it's one huge balloon of BS, isn't it? So we've gone through this bubble of not just misinformation, but hype. And I feel that it was all just a little bit too much what was going on with Musk. All too good to be true. He was coming in, he was the darling of the MAGA after kind of taking over Twitter and so-called allowing free speech, but not really. Then he was kind of being the Trump admin. It all looked rather funky and cool. He was a bit OTT at the rallies, and now, the inevitable proverbial hit the fan. Made me think of Steve Bannon in Trump's first term. Bannon was on MAGA to the hilt. Then he was brought in as an advisor in the White House, and the next thing there was a bust up. Then he was doing a kiss and tell book. Then he was stabbing Trump in the back, and then 2 years ago, oh no, he's back on the Trump train. What the hell goes on? It's theatre. Let's not buy into it, because I feel it could be the same with Musk, although some good externalities. Now, the other thing that goes along with the kind of the exaggeration, the overselling, the bullshit represented by Jupiter in Gemini, we also have Mars in Cancer, which can be rather sneaky, cunning, strategic, subversive. What you see is not what you get. Everything's a little bit underhanded. And I wonder, generally speaking, have we just gone through a period where people have been misrepresenting themselves, overselling, overstating, and that's where we've been, because I'm actually quite looking forward to Mars getting into Virgo, Jupiter and Mercury getting into Cancer, and things becoming a little bit more real, because with those other placements, and then Mars going into Leo, which is so egotistical, full of braggadocio, so downright belligerent in many ways, it was inevitable that there was going to be in the White House, for example, this clash of egos. But even for those of us not involved in the political sphere, I do think there was so much, kind of hype, just not getting the full picture, getting involved with people who were either being misleading intentionally or perhaps unintentionally, or maybe just trying to kind of grift. So maybe a lot of people's true colors are going to get seen. Now, one of the positives of this, without sort of taking sides, because I think that it is a little bit of theatre going on, one of the positive things about it, I think, is it is casting a light on Elon Musk. I've long said there's no way this guy is kind of the genius head of 6 of the most cutting-edge industry's going, and he's got his finger on the pulse, and he's involved in the design and everything. Come on, he spends his day on talking bullshit on Rogan, doing this sort of stuff. And now, Trump is sort of exposing him as being a drug user, high on ketamine. We know he's having these rather unedifying liaisons with women who are bearing his children left, right, and center. I don't feel that he's a credible person. And then we have the whole thing with Palantir as well, which is all shining a light on the fact that these are all CIA companies with frontmen, right? Why, if Elon Musk's company is free enterprise and it's part of the private sector, why does it get so many government subsidies? And again, Palantir, all these, even Facebook, they all come out the CIA, and then they present it to us in the public realm as private companies who run by these maverick genius entrepreneurs. Wrong. These are just frontmen to give it a facade that there's a free economy, when we're living more and more in a state economy, a planned economy, a communist economy, where the only kind of stuff that's going on is businesses that are seeded by government, then funded into kind of existence through government, they're the ones that are out there. And I think perhaps this bust up is pretty good. That shows Musk for being some kind of wobble-headed, loose head, that's not really a genius and a technical boffin that is theorizing and generating strategy, engineering plans, stroke coding for all these enterprises, right? And again, with Palantir, Peter Thiel, where do these companies all come from? Who do they ultimately serve? The state. They serve the military-industrial complex, they serve the military information complex, and it's all about more and more control. So I think that's kind of a good thing to come out of it. As for this whole Epstein Island stuff, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's highly likely Trump's name is there. His name was in the little black book. But then a lot of people's were, I guess, because he did keep track of all these people, Epstein. But 16 and 17-year-old girls, yes, it's illegal in some states of America. No, it's not illegal in loads of parts of the world. It's not that scandalous, really, is it? I mean, when you watch Netflix programs and they're featuring things like snuff movies being used to blackmail politicians, well, it gets a lot worse than 16 and 17-year-old girls. We're just the edge on the edge of legality, really. So I feel that Epstein, the kind of stuff that's come out about Epstein is tame, really. There has to be something more spicy there, and just being involved with Epstein alone hasn't been enough to damage Gates. It hasn't been enough, really, to take anyone down. So I think whether Trump's in there or not, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Not at all. None of it is right. It's all seedy and disgusting and sordid. But it's not really that shocking in terms of where the world is. So I don't know. Trump's going to come out of this for the best. Not, I think he'll come out on top. Certain people like Alex Jones, who've kind of wedded himself to both of them, is going to have a little bit of a problem riding the bicycle and the elephant at the same time on this one. But I guess there could be a patch-up at some stage. As for the whole black eye and that, it's theatre. I think the whole lot of it is just a massive, massive, massive distraction. Now, a little comment to my UK viewers as well is, have you noticed, now I always do scan the Daily Mail, the Daily Fail as they call it, because there is just so much garbage in there. But I have noticed a lot of stories about young people under sort of 40 and 30 with severe illnesses and that, strokes, whatever, and constantly trying to find excuses for why this is happening, random excuses. It could be this, it could be that, right? I just find that interesting. Also, loads of stories about Meghan Markle, but where's Kate and William and Charles and Camilla? At one stage, they were ubiquitous. You couldn't go in media without seeing pictures of them at some event, some stupid, fluffy story about them. And now, particularly the Mail, Daily Mail, where you would see that sort of stuff, no stories for weeks and weeks and weeks about Charles and Camilla or William and Kate. Just found that rather interesting in light of some of the predictions that we've made for the UK, the talks I've had about the royal family. Just found that a little bit interesting. So, hope you enjoyed that. And let's look forward to the Mars in Virgo and the Jupiter in Cancer being a little bit more sensible, because I really do feel that there was a whole era of hype, particularly going on in America with MAGA, possibly also going on in the UK around reform and the Rupert Lowe spat and all that sort of stuff. I do feel there's been an absolute surge in distraction information going on, sort of useless tittle-tale that hasn't led anywhere, that's almost every time, it's all, even with Starmer, we always feel like, we're on the edge of some big revelation, never happens. So let's say goodbye to the Jupiter in Gemini hype and all the Mars in Leo, ego, braggadocio, and nonsense. Look forward to something new.